The FDRX7 of this man, Calvin Juan. Let's just get the stats first. Calvin Juan, age, where you're from, and your vehicle, make and model.
All right, my name is Calvin Juan. I'm 32, from San Francisco, California. It's a 93 Mazda RX-7.
And what engine? Because, I mean, we got rotary heads out there. You're running the rear-wheel drive class. What engine, what horsepower, what's the torque? What are you running?
Yeah, it's still the original FD motor, so it's a 13B REW setup. Single turbo with an Apex, 7592. This setup right now is making about 450 horsepower.
450 horsepower, and what's torque ratings? Because that's obviously important with the grip here.
Yeah, it's probably closer to like about 390 or so. It's tuned by Garage Boso.
So, I mean, it's a fairly, I don't want to say mild car, because 450 is an adequate amount, but by comparison to some of these vehicles, obviously you're going against, you know, Team Boso, you talked about him, Ross Petty and his, 500 horsepower S15, you know, you got Dai Yoshihara, he's running that V8, so this is a nimble car, and, you know, there is another rear-wheel drive rotary out there. How do you think this car is going to do out here in the rear-wheel drive class? Let's just talk about rear-wheel drive here at Gymkhana Grid.
Yeah, well, rear-wheel drive class, it's going to be pretty competitive because it's a big field. A lot of drift guys are out here, so kind of depends more on the car control. There's a lot of drift sections in this course, so, there's a lot of guys that's going to be sliding, so getting traction is what's going to be key. So accelerating out of the corners, horsepower is going to be important, but I think there's more going to be on a technical driver basis, and it's kind of just getting the course down and just kind of on point. So
well, that's another question, is since this is basically the inaugural year of the Gymkhana Grid, this being the Ken Block Invitational, suspension is a huge key that's kind of an unknown. How have you combated that? Because this vehicle is set up primarily for drifting, but up in the Bay Area you guys have some phenomenal tracks, Thunder Hill, which I've seen footage of this vehicle on. How have you prepared your vehicle suspension wise for Gymkhana?
Well, I look at Gymkhana as similar in ways of autocrossing and time attack on road courses as well as drifting. So I kind of set up more or less square setups. I have bigger front tires, running 265 and 275s in the back. So it's a slight stagger, but different than a drift setup. These tires are the fucking RT615, so they're good for grip as well as drifting. So I think the way that the suspension setting, I cater more towards a grip side, a little grip bias, but it still needs to be able to drift according to how some of the course layout is. So it's a big combo of kind of different types of genres. Should work out and kind of experimenting all day today. And
you have many years of drift competition under your belt. What's your background in grip driving? Because you've done a lot of SCCA stuff as well, so you're pretty well to do in both categories.
Yeah, so I started autocrossing back in '98, so I was doing that a lot for several years, competing at the national level. And then I did some road racing as well, ran endurance races, 25-hour races up in Thunder Hill, and time attacking, specifically with this car. So ran the time attack Redline series, and I won drift class in it back in '08 actually. And then so it's been having some grip races that I've done in this car and in other cars in the past, and then I've been drifting competitively since 2003. Yeah. Pre-Formula D and all that. So it's kind of mixing. Gymkhana itself is mixing all these different types of genres together, because it's disciplines from grip and rally and drift all together in one. So I think this is a good format for any driver to kind of come on board and just kind of adapt and get into.
Yeah, no, it's great, and you said it. People with different backgrounds, a unique vehicle, and now let's talk about rear-wheel drive class. Who do you think is a big competitor in rear-wheel drive? And then let's talk about all-wheel drive. Do you think you can take out Ken Block? That's the second question. So rear-wheel drive competition, and do you think you can take out Ken Block?
Okay, well, rear drive wise, there's a lot of drift guys here, so it's it's going to be hard to say who's going to be a standout in the rear drive class. So, JR has been champ this past year in Formula D, and he's a nimble 78 Ford Escort. So, that's a built rally car. That actually might be a pretty interesting, fast, quick little car on this course. But it's hard to say in rear drive class. But in all-wheel drive class, Ken Block has pretty much been kind of forefront of this whole Gymkhana deal. So he had a lot of seat time, set this course up, so he's pretty much the crowd favorite here. But I'm excited, I want to do well so I can run against him in all-wheel drive in final elimination. So we'll see where it goes and try to go at it, beat him.
Well, and the thing is, this is about a show. This is putting on a good show. So we're filling all the categories of different vehicles, from Mazda to Ford to you even have that. Obviously Nissan, you're filling all those different categories, so it's about the show and the spectacle. Well, there you have it, Calvin Juan. He's filling the rotary category in his FDRX7.